Aliens regretted their SOS the moment the Deathworlder fleet arrived. The command center smelled of fear. Ambassador Thelia could taste it in the recycled air as she watched the holographic display flicker with red warning symbols. Each symbol represented a ship. Each ship carried thousands of Krix warriors, and they were all heading toward Alon 4, her home world. "The outer defense grid has fallen," reported her aide, his long ears pressed flat against his head in terror. "They estimate 4 hours until the Krix reach orbit." Thelia closed her eyes. She was old, even by Velith standards. Her fur had turned silver decades ago. She had lived through peace, prosperity, and the golden age of the Velith Confederation. Now she would die watching her species burn. Unless... "Bring me the Forbidden Archive," she said quietly. Her aide stared at her. "Ambassador, the Council voted 300 years ago to seal that information. The penalty for accessing it is, we will all be dead in 4 hours. Penalties do not matter anymore." The aide hesitated, then moved to a locked terminal in the corner. His hands shook as he entered the ancient codes. The screen glowed to life, displaying a single file marked with warning symbols in every language the Velith had ever encountered. Danger. Category 9. Hazard species. Do not contact. Below it was a single word, a planet designation that had become a curse word across civilized space. Sol 3. Earth. Thelia had heard the stories, as all younglings did. Scary tales told to make children behave. The Deathworlders, the species that evolved in hell and made it their home. They breathed poison. They drank acid. Their planet tried to kill them every day with storms and quakes and predators, and they not only survived but thrived. They conquered their world, then reached for the stars. The Galactic Council had made contact with them 50 years ago. It was supposed to be routine. Instead, the Council observers had returned traumatized. They spoke of cities that reached the clouds, built on tectonic plates that constantly shifted. They spoke of humans who laughed while jumping from flying machines for entertainment. They spoke of their wars, their weapons, their capacity for violence. The Council voted unanimously. Earth was quarantined. Humans were forbidden from settling beyond their solar system without explicit permission. And the rest of the galaxy tried very hard to forget they existed. But Thelia had read the reports. The ones not meant for public consumption. Buried beneath the fear and warnings was something else. The humans had a concept they called rescue. They had organizations dedicated to saving strangers. They had died by the thousands, pulling others from danger. They had a word for it: heroes. "Open the emergency channel," Thelia commanded. "Ambassador, if we do this, if we bring the Deathworlders here, then perhaps some of us will live long enough to regret it. But if we do nothing, we all die today. I would rather face the humans than the Krix." The channel opened. Thelia began to speak, broadcasting on the frequency marked in the Forbidden Archives. She spoke of the Krix invasion, of the millions already dead, of the children hiding in shelters while predators circled their world. She did not know if anyone was listening. Then she waited. Captain Una Park was drinking coffee when the distress call came through. It was terrible coffee, synthesized from recycled proteins and flavored with artificial compounds that only vaguely resembled the real thing. But it was hot, and it was familiar, and after 3 months in deep space, familiar was worth more than good. "Captain, we're receiving a priority signal," said Lieutenant Yoonji Yoon from the communications station. "It's on the old emergency frequency." Yuna set down her cup. "Play it." The voice that filled the bridge was thin and frightened. The translator struggled with the alien language, but the meaning was clear. "Help us. They are killing us. Please." "Location?" Yuna asked. "Alon system, ma'am. About 4 light years from our current position." "That's Velith space," said Commander Tae-Woo Shin from Tactical. "They're not exactly friendly to humans." Yuna pulled up the report on her terminal. The Velith were herbivores, prey species that had joined together for mutual protection. They were peaceful, artistic, and terrified of anything that reminded them of predators, which meant they were absolutely terrified of humans. "They called us anyway," Yuna said. "That means they're desperate. Helm, how fast can we get there?" Lieutenant Hana-go ran the calculations. "At maximum combat speed, 18 hours. But ma'am, the fleet is scattered. We only have the Indomitable and 16 other ships in range. 17 ships will have to be enough. Send the recall signal. I want every ship ready for combat jump in 30 minutes. "Captain," said a new voice. Yuna turned to see Ambassador Krell, the Galactic Council observer assigned to her ship. He was a Zenthar, tall and thin, with too many joints in his limbs. "You cannot be serious. The Council strictly prohibits human military intervention in—" "The Council isn't here," Yuna said calmly. "But there are people dying who asked for help. That's all I need to know." "The Velith do not want you. They fear you. They will consider your arrival an invasion." Yuna stood, her coffee forgotten. She was not tall by human standards, but she towered over the Zenthar. "Then they can file a complaint after we save their lives. Helm, prepare for jump." Krell opened his mouth to protest further, but Tae-Woo moved to stand beside his captain, then Hana, then Eunji. One by one, the bridge crew formed a wall of silent support. The Zenthar deflated. He had seen human stubbornness before. It was like arguing with a black hole. "This will have consequences," he whispered. "Everything does," Yuna replied, "but living with consequences is better than dying with a clean conscience." Thelia felt the change in space itself. The sensors screamed warnings as 17 massive objects tore through subspace, arriving in the Elon system like bullets through paper. The Velith technology could barely track them. "I'm reading 17 vessels," her aide reported, his voice shaking. "Power signatures are—" "Ambassador, these readings cannot be correct. No ship can generate that much energy." "Put them on screen." The holographic display shifted, showing the human fleet. Thelia felt her breath catch. The ships were brutal in their simplicity. No elegant curves, no artistic flourishes. They were blocks of armor and weapons, covered in scars from battles fought and survived. They looked exactly like what they were: war machines. "The Cricks are hailing us," said her aide. "They say if the Deathworlders do not leave immediately, they will destroy them along with our world." Thelia watched the human ships form up between the Cricks' swarm and her planet. 17 ships against 400. "What have I done?" she whispered. Then the human flagship began to broadcast. The voice was female, calm and steady despite the impossible odds. "This is Captain Yuna Park of the United Earth ship Indomitable. To the Crix forces, you are ordered to withdraw immediately. To the Velith people, help has arrived. We will not let you die alone." Thelia felt something break inside her chest. It might have been her last bit of hope dying. Or perhaps for the first time in months, it was fear finally releasing its grip. The Crix response was predictable. They laughed. They called humans weak, foolish, dead. Then one of the human ships fired a single shot. The kinetic round moved too fast for Velith sensors to properly track. It punched through a Crix dreadnought like paper, came out the other side, and destroyed 2 escorts behind it. 3 ships gone in a single heartbeat. The laughter stopped. "Final warning," Captain Park said, her voice still calm. "Leave now, or we will remove you." The Crix, like all predators, understood only one language: strength. They attacked. And Thelia watched as the Deathworlders showed them what strength really meant. Aliens regretted their SOS the moment the Deathworlder fleet arrived. The Crick's Hive Admiral watched the display with compound eyes that saw in spectrums the Velith could never imagine. He saw the human ships, small and pathetic, 17 against his 400. The ratio pleased him. All swarm groups, attack formation. Overwhelm them. Leave nothing but debris. The Crick's fleet moved as one organism, which is exactly what it was. Each ship contained warriors linked mentally to the hive mind, acting with perfect coordination. They had conquered 47 worlds using this advantage. Individual ships meant individual thinking, individual hesitation. The humans should have been easy prey. The first Crick's attack wave consisted of 80 ships, moving in a pincer formation designed to crush the human fleet between two walls of firepower. It was a maneuver that had never failed. Then the humans moved. Lieutenant Hanago's hands danced across her controls, and the Indomitable spun on its axis while accelerating forward. The G-forces should have turned her crew into paste. Instead, they barely noticed. The internal dampeners strained, but held. "Firing solution locked," Commander Taewoo Shin reported. "Releasing sabot rounds." The Indomitable fired. 30 kinetic penetrators launched simultaneously, each one accelerating to a fraction of light speed. They hit the Crick's formation like the hammer of an angry god. Ships exploded. Others spun away with holes punched clean through their hulls. Before the Crick's could process what happened, the other 16 human ships opened fire. Hive Admiral watched 60 of his ships die in the first exchange. It was impossible. No species could coordinate that precisely without a hive mind. No species could generate that much firepower. No species could move like that. "All ships evasive pattern 7, reform it." His orders died as the human fleet split into smaller groups and accelerated directly into his formation. They were not retreating. They were hunting. "Ma'am, we're receiving a direct challenge from a Crick's carrier," Yunji reported from communications. "They're demanding single combat with our largest ship." Captain Yuna Park smiled without humor. "Tell them we accept, then target that carrier with boarding torpedoes." "Captain, that violates the terms of single. We're not in single combat. Our Marines are. Launch." 6 boarding torpedoes fired from the Indomitable. They were small, fast, and heavily armored. The Crick's point defense tried to intercept them, but 3 torpedoes punched through the carrier's hull. Inside each one were 20 human Marines. Sergeant Major Do Yun Kwok felt the impact as his torpedo breached the Crick's ship. The pressure dropped immediately. Atmosphere vented into space through the hole they had created. Alarms screamed in frequencies that hurt his ears. "Seal helmets! Advance by fire teams!" he ordered. The Crick's met them in the corridors. They were large, covered in chitin armor, with blade arms that could cut through steel. They moved with the speed and coordination of a species that had evolved hunting in packs. They had never fought humans before. The first Crick's warrior lunged at Do Yun with blades extended. He shot it twice in the chest, then again in the head as it fell. The Marines advanced in a textbook formation, covering each other's movements with a precision that came from years of training. "Contact left!" someone shouted. Do Yun turned to see 5 Crick's charging from a side passage. The corridor was too narrow for his rifle. He drew his combat knife instead. The blade was simple carbon steel, technology thousands of years old. It worked just fine. The fight lasted 3 minutes. When it ended, Do Hyun had a cut across his armor, and the 5 Crick's were dead. Around him, his Marines continued to advance, clearing room by room with brutal efficiency. Team 3, engineering secured, setting charges. Team 1, we have the bridge. Hive Admiral is here. He's still alive. Team 2, cargo bay secure. You're not going to believe what they were carrying. Do Yun moved to join Team 2. The cargo bay was massive, filled with containers. One had broken open during the breach. Inside were bodies, Velith bodies, hundreds of them. "They weren't just invading," said Corporal Hana, her voice cold. "They were harvesting." Do-yun felt his jaw tighten. He had seen war before. He had seen cruelty. But this was different. This was industrial. Command, we're going to need prisoner transport and medical teams. Lots of them. The battle in space continued. The Kricks tried every formation, every tactic they knew. Nothing worked. The humans moved like they could read minds, always 2 steps ahead. Their weapons hit with impossible accuracy. Their ships took damage that should have destroyed them and kept fighting. Ambassador Krell watched from the observation deck of the Indomitable, his face pale. This is not possible. Your species has only been in space for 80 years. You should not have this level of technology. Tae-woo glanced at him while coordinating the fleet. We don't have better technology than you. We just have different priorities. What do you mean? You build ships to explore, to trade, to make first contact. We build ships to protect those things. Every human ship is designed to fight because we grew up on a world where everything wanted to kill us. We learned to kill back. Another wave of Crick ships exploded on the tactical display. But you are so few, Krell protested. How can 17 ships defeat 400? Captain Park answered from her chair. Because every single person on these ships volunteered to be here. Every one of them trained for years. Every one of them knows that if we fail, people die. That makes all the difference. Your people must be terrified. Yuna shook her head. They're focused. There's a difference. On the bridge of the Indomitable, the crew worked with calm precision. Hana adjusted their trajectory, threading between Crick's ships with centimeters to spare. Yunji intercepted enemy communications and fed tactical data to Tae-woo. Tae-woo plotted firing solutions and coordinated with the other ships. The ship's doctor, Mirai Bayek, prepared the medical bay for casualties. They had done this before. They would do it again. 6 hours after the battle began, the Crick's fleet broke. It was not a retreat. It was a rout. Ships fled in every direction, abandoning formation, abandoning each other. The hive mind had experienced something it had never known before. Fear. Captain Park watched them go. All ships, cease fire. Do not pursue. I repeat, do not pursue. Ma'am? Tae-woo asked. We came here to protect the Velith, not commit genocide. Let them run. Let them tell the others what happened here. The bridge was silent for a moment. Then Yunji spoke up. Captain, we're receiving a transmission from Alon 4. It's Ambassador Thelia. Put her on screen. The hologram flickered to life. Thelia stood in what looked like a command center surrounded by her people. Her face was difficult for humans to read, but her body language was universal. She was shaking. Captain Park, Thelia said, her voice barely steady. You came. You actually came. You called, Yuna replied simply. We answered. The Cricks are gone. You defeated 400 ships with 17. You saved millions of lives. We are in your debt. Yuna felt uncomfortable. You don't owe us anything. You needed help. We had the ability to help. That's all there is to it. But we have nothing to offer you. No technology you do not already possess. No resources you cannot find elsewhere. Why would you risk your lives for strangers who fear you? The question hung in the air. Yuna thought about it carefully before answering. A long time ago on Earth, there was a saying, "No man is an island." It means we all need each other. When we reached the stars, we brought that belief with us. You might be strangers, but you are still people. And people should not die alone while others watch. Thelia was quiet for a long moment. Then she said something unexpected. We invited monsters to fight monsters, but I think perhaps we were wrong about which ones you are. We're not monsters, Yuna said quietly. We're just humans. And right now, your people need medical aid, supplies, and protection while you rebuild. If you allow it, we would like to help with that too. On Alon 4, Thelia looked at her aide, then back at the human captain. She made a decision that would change the galaxy. "Please," she said, "land your ships. Our world is open to you." Behind Captain Park, Ambassador Krell made a small sound of distress. The quarantine was broken. The Deathworlders were no longer contained. And somehow, watching Una Park's gentle smile, he was not sure that was a bad thing anymore. Aliens regretted their SOS the moment the Deathworlder fleet arrived. The human ships landed like falling mountains. The Velith had never seen anything touch down on their world that was not designed for atmospheric flight. These vessels were pure function, built for war and space. They descended on pillars of fire that scorched the earth and shook the ground. The Velith who watched from a distance felt their ancient instincts scream at them to run. Dr. Mireille Bayek was the first human to actually step onto Elan 4 soil. She wore her medical uniform and carried 2 large cases of supplies. Behind her, her staff unloaded more equipment from the Indomitable's cargo bay. The air was thinner than Earth standard. The gravity was lighter. The sun was a different color. But Mireille had trained for this. Every human sent to space trained for this. "Set up the field hospital in that clearing," she ordered. "I want triage stations ready in 20 minutes. Ambassador Thelia approached carefully. Up close, the human doctor was intimidating. She stood nearly twice Thelia's height, with muscles visible even through her uniform. Her skin was dark, her hair pulled back in a practical style. She moved with the easy confidence of a predator. "Dr. Bayek?" Thelia asked quietly. Mireille turned and smiled. The Velith elder instinctively took a step back. Humans showing teeth meant aggression in almost every species. But Mireille seemed to realize this. Her smile softened, became gentler. "Ambassador Thelia, I'm glad to meet you in person. My team is ready to start treating your wounded. Can you show us where they are? You want to treat them? Yourself?" "That's what I'm here for. I'm a doctor. Your people are hurt. Let me help." Thelia led her to the largest shelter where hundreds of wounded Velith lay in makeshift beds. The smell of pain and fear was overwhelming. Many had burns from Crick's weapons. Others had lost limbs. Some were children, crying for parents who would never answer. Mireille took one look at the scene and started giving orders. Her staff moved with practiced efficiency, setting up equipment, stabilizing patients, administering medicine. She knelt beside a young Velith child whose leg was badly burned. "Hey there," she said softly, her translator converting the words into gentle tones. "My name is Mireille. I'm going to help you feel better, okay?" The child stared at her with wide, terrified eyes. This human was a giant, a predator, a monster from the scary stories. Mireille reached into her pocket and pulled out a small toy. It was a stuffed animal from Earth, a creature called a dog. She made it dance in front of the child. "This is Buddy. He's very brave, but he's also scared of needles. Can you be brave with him?" The child, despite everything, reached out to touch the toy. Mireille let her hold it while she worked, cleaning and bandaging the wound with hands that were incredibly gentle for something that could crush bone. Across the shelter, similar scenes played out. Human Marines, still in their combat armor, carried stretchers. Engineers rigged up power generators. Even Captain Park herself was there, helping to organize the chaos into something manageable. Thalia watched in confusion. These were the Deathworlders, the species too dangerous to be allowed in civilized space. The monsters. They were acting like heroes. Not everyone was convinced. Counselor Vane stood in the government building watching the humans through the window. He was younger than Thelia, ambitious, and he understood politics. The humans were dangerous, not because they were cruel, but because they were not. "They are gaining influence too quickly," he said to the small group gathered around him. "Our people are starting to trust them, to admire them, to forget what they are." "They saved us," one counselor said weakly. They saved us from the Cricks. But who will save us from them? Vane pulled up a holographic display showing images from Earth's history. Wars, weapons, cities burning. Look at their past. They have killed billions of their own kind. They created weapons that could destroy their entire planet. They are predators who learn to cooperate, but the predator is still there. They have not hurt any of us. Not yet. But give them time. They will want payment for their help, resources, territory, power, and when we cannot give them what they want, they will take it. Vane was good at politics. He knew how to plant seeds of fear. He knew that fear, once started, grew on its own. He began to speak to other counselors, to community leaders, to anyone who would listen. The humans are dangerous. The humans are planning something. The humans will betray us. Some believed him. Others were unsure. But the doubt was planted, and doubt was almost as good as belief. Petty Officer Jinho Ryu was an engineer, not a diplomat. He fixed things. Right now, he was fixing a water purification system that had been damaged in the Cricks attack. It was boring work, but necessary. A group of Velith children watched him from a distance. They had been orphaned in the attack, with nowhere to go and no one to care for them. The shelter staff was overwhelmed. The children simply wandered, lost and alone. Jinho noticed them staring. He was a big man, even by human standards. His hands were scarred from years of engineering work. His face was rough and unshaven. He looked exactly like what the Velith feared. He also had 3 younger siblings back on Earth. He knew that look in the children's eyes. He sat down and pulled out his ration pack. Inside was a chocolate bar, real chocolate saved for special occasions. He broke it into pieces and held one out. "Anyone hungry?" The children did not move. They knew better than to approach predators, but hunger eventually won. The bravest child, a small female with green fur, crept forward and snatched the chocolate before running back. She took a bite. Her eyes went wide. The other children crowded around her, asking questions in their high-pitched voices. She broke the chocolate into smaller pieces and shared. Jinho smiled and went back to work. The next day, the children were there again, watching. He shared his ration pack again. And the day after that. By the 4th day, they were sitting next to him while he worked. By the end of the week, the brave little female had crawled into his lap while he explained how the water system worked. She fell asleep there, feeling safe for the first time since the attack. Her name was Neela. She had lost her entire family. But when she woke up, the scary human was still there, working quietly so he would not disturb her. Captain Park met with Ambassador Thelia in a private room. The Velith elder looked tired. The stress of the invasion, the relief of rescue, and the complicated feelings about the humans were taking their toll. "Your people have done more than we could have hoped," Thelia said. "The wounded are healing. The water is clean. The generators are providing power. You have asked for nothing in return." "We don't want anything," Yuna said simply. "Everyone wants something. We want to help. That is enough." Thelia studied the human carefully. "Counselor Vane has been spreading concern about your presence. He shows recordings of your wars, your weapons. He says you are predators who cannot be trusted." "He is not wrong about our history," Yuna admitted. "We have done terrible things. We have fought wars that killed millions. We created weapons that could end all life on our planet. We are capable of great cruelty." "Then how can I trust you?" Yuna was quiet for a moment, choosing her words carefully. "Because we are also capable of great kindness. Because we chose to learn from our mistakes. Because we decided that being strong meant protecting the weak, not exploiting them. We are not perfect. We still make mistakes, but we try to be better than we were." "That is not very reassuring." "No," Yuna agreed. "But it is honest. I cannot promise we will never disappoint you. I cannot promise we are not scary. We are, and we know it. But I can promise that we will keep helping as long as you let us. Thalia looked at this human captain, this woman who commanded weapons that could crack planets, who led warriors that could fight in conditions that would kill any Velith instantly. She thought about Dr. Mireille, working through the night to save lives. She thought about Jinho, sharing his food with orphaned children. She thought about the Marines who carried stretchers as carefully as they carried guns. I invited monsters to fight monsters, she said softly. But perhaps the real monsters are the ones who do nothing while others suffer. We're not monsters, Yuna said gently. We're just people who decided to answer when someone called for help. Outside, Counselor Vane was gathering support for a vote to ask the humans to leave. He had enough allies now. Enough fear. The vote would be close, but he thought he could win. He did not know that change was already happening, that Neela and the other children were learning to laugh again, that the wounded were healing, that the Velith who worked alongside the humans were seeing past the fear to the people underneath. Fear was powerful, but hope, once planted, could grow even stronger. Aliens regretted their SOS the moment the Deathworlder fleet arrived. The transmission reached every major species in the galaxy simultaneously. The Crick's Supreme Matriarch appeared on billions of screens, her compound eyes gleaming with cold fury. The Deathworlders have interfered in Crick's business, she announced. They have destroyed our ships. They have taken our worlds. They have challenged the supremacy of the swarm. This cannot stand. Behind her, the hologram showed a fleet, not hundreds of ships, thousands. The entire military might of the Crick's empire, assembled for one purpose. We go to Earth itself. We will burn their world. We will consume their species. We will show the galaxy what happens to those who defy the swarm. Let this be a lesson to all who would oppose us. The transmission ended. Across the galaxy, species watched in horror. Some felt satisfaction that the humans would finally face consequences for their violence. Others felt fear, wondering if the Cricks would stop with Earth. But everyone agreed on one thing: the humans were doomed. Lieutenant Yunji Yoon intercepted the transmission 3 hours before it reached the public channels. She ran it through analysis, cross-referenced it with known Cricks fleet positions, and calculated trajectories. The results made her blood run cold. Captain, you need to see this. Captain Park looked at the data. Over 2,000 Cricks ships, all heading toward the Sol system. They would arrive in 5 days. Get me Fleet Command, emergency channel. The response came quickly. Fleet Admiral Kyung Mo appeared on the screen. He was an old man with white hair and a face carved by years of service, but his eyes were sharp and steady. Captain Park, I assume you are calling about the Cricks declaration. Sir, they are sending everything. My fleet cannot stop them. We need to evacuate Earth. We will not be evacuating Earth. Sir. Captain, I have already sent the recall order. Every human ship within 3 jumps of Sol is being redirected to Alon IV. You will have reinforcements within 48 hours. Yuna felt her throat tighten. How many ships? 95, including the Eternal Soul. I will be commanding personally. That is still only 112 ships against 2,000. Admiral Mo smiled. It was not a happy smile. Captain, when has humanity ever had fair odds? Hold position. Protect the Velith. We will handle the rest. The transmission ended. Yuna sat back in her chair, processing what she had just heard. The Admiral was betting everything on one battle. If they lost, Earth would be defenseless. Ma'am, Taewoo asked quietly. Orders? We dig in. We fortify Alon Fu. We set up every defensive measure we have. If the Cricks want to reach Earth, they go through us first. They will have to go through 2,000 of their ships to get here. Then we make sure that costs them. The news spread quickly on Alon 4. The humans were about to face annihilation. The Cricks were coming with overwhelming force, and the humans were not running. Counselor Van saw his opportunity. "You see? This is what happens when you ally with the Deathworlders. They bring war to our doorstep. We must ask them to leave immediately." Ambassador Thelia listened to his speech before the council. Other counselors nodded in agreement. The fear was back, stronger than before. "If we ask them to leave, the Cricks may spare us," Vane continued. "We can say we were forced to accept their help. We can negotiate." "No." The voice was small, but it carried. Everyone turned to see Neela, the orphaned child who had befriended Jinho. She stood in the doorway of the council chamber, surrounded by other children. "You cannot speak here, child," Vane said, not unkindly. "This is a council matter." "The humans saved us," Neela said, her voice shaking but determined. "They did not have to come. They did not know us. But they came anyway, and now they are staying to protect us again. If we ask them to leave, we are cowards." "Child, you do not understand. I understand that Jinho shared his food with me when I was hungry. I understand that Dr. Mirai fixed my leg when it hurt. I understand that they could have left after the first battle, but they stayed. If we ask them to leave now, we are worse than the Cricks." Thalia felt something break inside her chest. The child was right. She looked at the council, at the fear in their faces, and made a decision. "We will not ask the humans to leave. We will offer them whatever help we can provide. If the Cricks are coming, we stand with Earth." "That is suicide," Vane shouted. "Perhaps, but it is honorable suicide. I would rather die standing beside people who saved us than live knowing we abandoned them." The vote was not even close. The council agreed. The Velith would stand with the humans. 2 days later, the reinforcements arrived. 95 human warships dropped out of subspace in perfect formation. The Eternal Soul was massive, twice the size of the Indomitable. It bristled with weapons and armor that made the Cricks dreadnoughts look like children's toys. Admiral Mo contacted Captain Park immediately. "Status report. All defensive positions established. Velith ground forces are training with our Marines. It's not much, but they are brave." "Good. The Cricks will be here in 3 days. I want every ship ready for combat operations." "Sir, what is the battle plan?" The Admiral smiled again, and this time there was something dangerous in it. "The Cricks think they are hunting us. They think overwhelming numbers will guarantee victory. They are about to learn why you never corner something from a death world." The next 3 days were spent preparing. Human engineers worked with Velith technicians to set up orbital defense platforms. Marines trained the Velith on how to use human weapons. Medical teams prepared for mass casualties, and the humans waited. The Cricks armada arrived like a plague of locusts, 2,000 ships blotting out the stars. They formed up at the edge of the Alon system, confident and cruel. The Supreme Matriarch broadcast one final message. "Deathworlders, you have one chance to survive. Surrender now. Give us the Velith world. Return to your soul system and never leave again. If you refuse, we will destroy you here, then burn your homeworld." Admiral Mo stood on the bridge of the Eternal Soul, surrounded by his command staff. Wing Commander Somi An waited at the fighter bay, ready to launch. Throughout the fleet, over 40,000 humans prepared for battle. The Admiral opened a channel to the Cricks. When he spoke, his voice was calm and grandfatherly. "Supreme Matriarch, you made a mistake when you threatened Earth. You made a bigger mistake when you came here thinking you could intimidate us. Let me explain something about humans. We evolved on a world that tried to kill us every single day. Predators, diseases, weather, starvation. We survived all of it. And when we finally conquered our world, we looked at the stars and decided to take our chances there too." He paused, letting the words sink in. "You think 2,000 ships is overwhelming. You think your hive mind gives you an advantage. You think we are afraid. You are wrong on all counts. This is your last chance to withdraw. Because if you attack, I promise you this. We will not stop until your fleet is destroyed or we are dead. And humans are very, very hard to kill. The matriarch's response was to order the attack. What followed was not a battle. It was a lesson in why humanity had survived long enough to reach the stars. The Krix swarmed forward in their thousands, confident in their numbers. The human fleet split into smaller groups, moving in ways that defied physics. They did not fight like other species. They did not try to hold formation or maintain defensive positions. They hunted. Wing Commander Somi-An led 300 fighters directly into the Krix formation. They flew through fields of fire that should have obliterated them. Instead, they danced. They twisted. They used every dirty trick humans had learned in centuries of atmospheric combat. "Fox 3, Somi called, launching missiles at a Krix command ship. The missiles hit, but she did not stop to watch. She was already targeting the next ship, and the next. The Eternal Soul became the anchor of the human defense. It took fire from 50 Krix ships simultaneously. Its shields flared and failed, armor plating vaporized, but still it fired back, its massive railguns punching through Krix hulls like paper. Captain Parks, indomitable, led a surgical strike against the Krix rear guard. They identified the ships with the most command personnel and systematically destroyed them. Without coordination, the hive mind began to fracture. And on the ground, Sergeant Major Do-Hyun Kwak led his Marines in boarding actions against Krix ships that got too close to Elan 4. They fought in corridors. They fought in engine rooms. They fought in conditions that would kill most species. They fought like humans do, desperately, viciously, never giving up. The battle lasted 9 hours. When it ended, over 800 Krix ships were destroyed. 400 more were crippled. The rest fled in disarray. The human fleet had lost 12 ships. 4,000 humans were dead, but they had won. Admiral Mo sat in his damaged chair on the damaged bridge and looked at the aftermath. "Get me the Supreme Matriarch." She appeared on screen, her compound eyes showing something humans had never seen before. Fear. "You are defeated," Mo said simply. "Your fleet is broken. You will withdraw immediately, or we will pursue you to your home world and finish this. You are monsters." "No," the Admiral said, and his voice was tired. "We are humans. We offered you peace. You chose war. Remember this lesson. We do not start fights, but we always finish them." Aliens regretted their SOS the moment the Deathworlder fleet arrived. The Galactic Council met in emergency session 3 days after the battle. Representatives from 400 species gathered in the Great Chamber. Floating platforms arranged in concentric circles around the central podium. The air was thick with fear and argument. "The Deathworlders have destroyed an entire Krix armada," shouted the Zenthar representative. 2,000 ships. They did not just defeat them, they massacred them. "The Krix threatened Earth," responded another voice. "What did you expect the humans to do?" "Exactly what they did, which proves they are too dangerous to exist. We must act now, before they turn their weapons on us." Ambassador Krell stood slowly. All platforms turned to face him. He had been aboard the Indomitable during both battles. He had seen things that would give him nightmares for the rest of his life. "I have a question for this council," he said quietly. "How many of you sent aid to the Velith when the Krix invaded?" Silence. "How many of you even considered it? The Velith called for help. They begged, they pleaded, and we all discussed it in committees. We formed study groups. We debated the legal implications. We did everything except actually help." He looked around the chamber, meeting eyes that looked away. The humans did not debate. They did not form committees. They received a distress call from a species that fears them, and they came anyway. They asked for nothing in return. They saved millions of lives, and when the Cricks threatened them, they fought back. What part of that makes them monsters? They killed thousands, someone shouted. They killed thousands who were actively trying to commit genocide. There is a difference, a very important difference. The debate continued for hours. Fear against pragmatism, safety against justice. In the end, the council made a decision that surprised everyone. They would invite the humans to speak. Captain Una Park stood in the council chamber 2 weeks later. She wore her dress uniform, crisp and formal. Behind her, on a holographic display, were the faces of the 4,000 humans who died defending Elan Fo. "Honored council members," she began. "Thank you for this opportunity. I know many of you are afraid of humanity. You have good reasons. We come from a violent world. We have a violent history. We are capable of terrible things." She let that sink in before continuing. "But we are also capable of great compassion. We are capable of sacrifice. We are capable of looking at strangers who fear us and saying, 'We will help anyway.' That is what we did for the Velith. That is what we will continue to do." "Your people destroyed 2,000 ships," said the Zenthar representative. "How can we trust you will not destroy us next?" Una looked at him steadily. "Because you have not given us a reason to fight you. The Cricks did. They invaded peaceful worlds. They harvested civilians. They threatened genocide. We did not seek that fight. We ended it." She gestured to the faces behind her. "These people died protecting strangers. They did not die conquering. They did not die taking resources. They died standing between predators and prey. If that makes us monsters, then I am proud to be one." Ambassador Thelia stepped forward from where she had been waiting. "May I speak?" The council president nodded. "I invited the humans to our world," Thelia said. "I was terrified. I expected conquerors. I expected cruelty. Instead, I found people who shared their food with our children, who worked through the night to save our wounded, who stood beside us when they could have fled." She pulled up a video. It showed Jinho surrounded by Velith children, teaching them to play a human game. It showed Dr. Mireille carefully bandaging a Velith elder's injury. It showed human marines and Velith civilians working together to rebuild a destroyed town. "These are not the actions of monsters," Thelia said firmly. "These are the actions of people who care, who protect, who save. I was wrong to fear them, and this council is wrong to condemn them." The chamber erupted in argument. Some agreed, others protested. But slowly, gradually, the tide began to shift. The supreme matriarch of the Cricks sat in a cell designed by humans. It was clean. It was comfortable. It had food and water, but it was still a cell, and she was still a prisoner. Admiral Kyung Mo came to visit her personally. The old human moved slowly, his body showing the effects of the battle. But his eyes were still sharp. "Why did you not kill me?" the matriarch asked. "Your species understands revenge. I threatened your home. I killed your people. By all rights, you should have destroyed me." "We could have," Mo agreed, sitting down carefully. "But we chose not to. Do you know why?" "I do not understand your species. We have a concept called mercy. It is not weakness. It is strength choosing restraint. You are more valuable to us alive than dead." "How?" "Because you can go back to your people and tell them what happened here. You can tell them that humans will defend themselves without mercy when attacked. But you can also tell them that we offered you life when we could have offered death. Maybe some of your people will learn from that." The matriarch studied the old human with her compound eyes. "Your species is strange. You are capable of such violence, yet you show kindness to your enemies." "We are capable of both," Mo said. "That is what makes us human. We choose which one to show. You chose violence, so we responded with violence. But the war is over. Now we can choose differently." "What if we attack again?" Then we will stop you again, but I hope you do not. I hope you take this lesson and change. Your hive mind has never experienced defeat before, never learned that there are consequences for cruelty. Maybe this is your chance to grow. He stood to leave, then paused. By the way, we are releasing you tomorrow. You are free to return to your territory. Consider this a gift. We hope you use it wisely. The matriarch sat alone after he left. For the first time in her long life, she did not know what to think. 1 year later, Alon 4 had been transformed. Human and Velith construction teams had rebuilt the destroyed cities. Trade ships moved between Earth and the Velith worlds regularly. Children of both species played together in parks that had once been battlefields. The Galactic Council formally recognized the Velith-Human Alliance. It was the first time in galactic history that a Category 9 species had been allowed unrestricted contact with others. Other species began to reach out carefully, curious about these Deathworlders who fought like demons but acted like saints. The Cricks, under new leadership, requested a peace conference. They would not apologize, not yet. But they stopped raiding. They stopped invading. They had learned that some prey fought back. Rear Admiral Una Park stood on the observation deck of the new joint station orbiting Alon 4. She had been promoted after the battle, given command of the combined human-Velith fleet. It was a position she had never wanted but accepted because someone had to do it. Ambassador Thelia joined her at the window. The Velith elder moved more slowly now, age finally catching up with her. But her eyes were bright. "I have been thinking about that day," Thelia said, "when I sent the distress call, when I invited monsters to fight monsters." "You regretted it," Una said. "It was not a question. I did. For a moment when I saw your ships arrive, I thought I had doomed us all. I thought we had traded one death for another. And now?" Thelia smiled, showing her own teeth in a gesture she had learned from humans. "Now I know I was wrong about which ones you are. You are not the monsters. You are what monsters fear." Below them, a group of human and Velith children walked together, laughing at some shared joke. A human marine helped a Velith engineer carry equipment. Dr. Mireille and her Velith counterpart discussed medical techniques in the station's hospital. "Do you know what the strangest thing is?" Thelia asked. "We feared you because you were predators, because you came from death, because you knew violence. But that is exactly why you could save us." "Only predators understand how to fight predators." "We're more than just predators," Una said quietly. "We are also protectors, healers, teachers, friends. We contain both darkness and light. The important thing is choosing which one to show. And you chose light. We choose it every day. Some days are harder than others. Some days we fail. But we keep choosing." A communication alert chimed. Una read the message and sighed. "There is a distress call from the Corvin system. Pirates are attacking a colony. They are asking for help." "Will you answer?" Una looked at the stars, at the vast darkness filled with species both friendly and hostile. She thought about the 4,000 humans who died defending Alon 4. She thought about Jinho's kindness to orphaned children. She thought about the choice humans made every day to be more than their history. "Yes," she said simply. "We will answer. We always do." She turned to leave, then paused. "Thelia, I want to thank you." "For what?" "For making that call. For giving us a chance to prove we could be something other than the monsters everyone feared. For trusting us, even when you were terrified." Thelia reached out and gently touched Una's hand. The gesture would have been impossible a year ago. Now it was natural. "Thank you for answering," she said. "Thank you for showing the galaxy that even from darkness, light can emerge, that even predators can choose to protect instead of destroy." That even monsters can be heroes. Yuna smiled and headed to the command center. There were people who needed help. There was a distress call to answer. And humans, as always, would come when called, because that is what they did. That is what they chose to be. Not monsters, heroes. The stars waited, vast and full of possibilities. And somewhere out there, someone was afraid. Someone was calling for help. And the Deathworlders would answer. They always did.